Each school of philosophy offered a different basis for well-being. For the Peripatetics of Aristotle's school, it is living life of virtue, but also enjoying certain additional external goods. The Stoics believed that well-being came from a rational life lived in virtue only, entirely independent of any external circumstance. And the basis for the Epicureans was what they deemed the right balance of pleasure. Plotinus comes close to identifying with Stoic ethics, whereas the Stoics view reason as something of the higher order. For Plotinus, reason is a means to an even greater end, ultimately leading up to the good, which lies above reason itself. Well-being is a goodness, which is itself a reflection of the good itself. Just as the absolute good requires no external thing in order to be itself, so the human being in a state of well-being requires no external thing. To the human being in this state, what is the good? He himself by what he has and is. What indeed could he be seeking? Certainly none of the less worthy things. And the best he carries always within him. He that has such a life as this has all he needs in life. For Plotinus, well-being is rooted in the good itself, and therefore the connection of well-being is not through discursive reason, but through higher noetic reason, which ontologically precedes discursive thought. For Plotinus, it's not a matter of being aware of well-being or not, nor of even possessing it or not. By virtue of already participating in the good as soul, one already has well-being potentially. It is merely a matter of activating it within oneself. The coherent soul is one which is ontologically integrated within itself, and also with the good insofar as capable. Well-being depends upon the orientation of the soul toward the good. Evading the good by looking downward, so to speak, toward the material world, can only lead to dependence upon that which can only bring further inner disintegration, leading to a disorderly and incoherent soul. The domain of well-being thus lies not in the body, but in the upper soul. It would be absurd to think that well-being begins and ends with the living body. Well-being is the possession of the good of life. It is centered therefore in soul. It is an act of the soul, and not of all the soul at that. For it is certainly not the characteristic of the vegetative soul, the soul of growth, that would at once connect it with the body. There must be a sort of counter-pressure in the other direction, towards the noblest. The body must be lessened, reduced, that the veritable man may show forth, the man behind the appearances. Once again, Plotinus echoes the Stoic ethics, but with an ontological difference, which effectively frees consciousness from the material world toward an even greater cosmic vision of the whole. The philosopher thus remains a member of another order. To be sure, the body should be cared for, but only within the limited context of having an instrumental purpose for a greater goal for the soul itself. The midpoint of the soul always represents a choice. In which direction should we travel? Toward further inner disintegration and disunity? Or toward greater integration and the unity of the good? Well-being does not depend upon the body, which lies below the soul, but upon the good above the soul, from which the soul is given its own being. Nevertheless, the body has its uses in the soul's ascent toward the good.